Welcome back. Now, honestly, I really couldn't call myself a South Australian if I did not make this video you're about to watch. First little piece of news is we're losing red tins. In other words, West End will be closing up shop in South Australia. They're no longer going to make it here. They're saying it's because of sales, but honestly, if we're not drinking enough of it while we're making it, we're not going to drink more once we don't. This leads me to other iconic businesses that have closed their doors in South Australia, like 3 years ago when we lost Holden in Elizabeth. Now, the Prime Minister is asked about this and his response is, oh, you see.
The question is to the Prime Minister. Holden had a win at the Bathurst 1000 last weekend, the last time a Holden factory team will appear at the race. One of the winning drivers, Garth Tander, said it was a sad end to a fantastic brand. Does the government regret forcing the Holden plant in Elizabeth to shut its doors 3 years ago today?
Members on my right, the Prime Minister has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And that indeed was a sad day for Australia. Holden announced its decision in December of 2013. But it said it was due to the competitive pressures of the global automotive market. Mr Speaker, that's their
Member
quote.
for Shortland.
And Holden said at the time it would be wrong to simply attribute to the action or inaction on the part of the government.
The Leader of the Opposition.
That was the statement by Holden. And they said that in December of 2013. That was the Holden plant, Mr Speaker, but it seems to have escaped the notice of those opposite that Mitsubishi announced its intention to stop local manufacturing in February of 2008, Mr Speaker. February of 2008. Ford announced its intention to stop local manufacturing in May of 2013, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the reason Australians don't trust Labor on the economy is they know that Labor doesn't understand the economy, Mr Speaker. If you can't work
Prime Minister will resume his seat.
Okay, first things first, shout out to the member for Spence for that really good question. And now let's unpack that bullshit answer. Okay, the Prime Minister starts off with saying, yeah, Holden said they were going to leave back in December 2013, and then goes on to say, yo, but Labor must have forgotten about the car companies that left while they were in power, and he goes all the way back to 2008, because I was just starting high school then, and I only remember who was in power because Kevin 07. So Mitsubishi left in 2008, he said, and then he mentions Ford. Keep Ford in your mind for later on in this video, but did you hear them all like moan and make a noise when he said, when Ford said they'll leave in 2013, because that was an election year. I think the election was in September. So they're going, yeah, remember how Ford said they were going to leave? And by Scott Morrison's logic, like 2 car companies, 1 year, 2013, Ford says they're going to leave before the election when there was Labor in power, and then when the Liberals took over, Holden said they're going to leave. Oh, there's still more to show you.
Point that out to him. The Prime Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker. The point I was making, that what was happening with the global automotive industry at the time, of course had its impacts on Australia, as it did under the previous Labor government with the closures of Mitsubishi and of Ford, and of course as it had under this government, Mr Speaker, soon after we came to the government in 2013. But what I can tell you, Mr Speaker, is about 75% of former auto supply chain companies remain in business today, and 82% of affected workers were able to secure other work.
I had to stop it here just to remind everyone on why I caution about when they use percentages. He didn't give us any information just then. Like, there could have been 4 car companies and we got 3 left. That's all that means. And 80-something% of workers found another job. So what, we don't care about the other 20% then? Oh, I know that Scott Morrison doesn't care about the whole 100%, but, you know, moving on to the next bit.
One of the first acts of the coalition government was to get rid of Labor's $1.8 billion FBT hit on the car industry and to scrap the carbon tax, which was estimated to add up to $400 to the cost of every single vehicle manufactured in Australia.
Oi, Scott, 400 times 0 is fucking 0. Like, we don't make cars anymore. Can we have the carbon tax back then or some shit? Like, the fuck are you bringing that up for? Like, oh yeah, well done.
The government has helped support the transition of automotive businesses and workers through a range of programs. The $100 million Advanced Manufacturing Fund, the $10 million Automotive Innovation Labs, the $5 million Automotive Engineering Graduate Program. The Volvo Truck Factory in Wacol, Queensland was first established in 1972 and a great example of adapting with the market. They employ more than 500 people. Axiom Precision Manufacturing in South Australia has also pivoted and adapted to the new market. Ford has more than 2,000 engineers, designers and specialists in working across 4 different sites in Australia. Mr Speaker, as the global economy changes and there is great uncertainty, our government has put in place the policies to ensure that Australia can remain competitive, and we moved on to manufacture and make things happen in Australia, Mr Speaker. The Make It Happen document, released by the Minister for Industry, shows our way forward for advanced manufacturing jobs in Australia, Mr Speaker. The Labor Party is stuck in an economic time warp. Only the coalition can be trusted to manage Australia's economy.
Concluded.
What a disgrace. Okay, we'll go through this last bit backwards. Now, did you notice that he mentioned Ford? Did you notice that he had to mention they have like 2,000 workers over 4 different places in Australia? Interesting. In the same speech, this guy can use them as an attack and then as a pro for himself. Like, oh, they're gonna leave, but never mind, they're still here. What else did he say? He mentioned when the Volvo truck factory in Queensland opened up, which was 72, I believe. And to try and keep this all relevant to the original question that was asked, the Holden plant in South Australia was opened in 1963. And then to my final point, there better not be anybody saying that Scott Morrison is any sort of true blue, proper Aussie bloke who gives a shit about the very few things we've claimed as ours. Because he doesn't. Let's go through the companies he listed in his little speech there. We'll start with Holden, the ones in question, because they left 3 years ago. And he, Scott Morrison, brought up Ford, Mitsubishi, Volvo. Now, we'll start with the one that's also already left us a while ago, Mitsubishi, which was created in Tokyo, Japan. What about Volvo, our surviving truck manufacturer? Yep, Sweden. How about Ford? Got about 2,000 workers for them around Australia still. Yep, the United States. Now, where did Holden start? Now, I don't know how many people know this, but other than Holden starting a car manufacturing business in South Australia, the guy it's named after was here in the 1850s. And the first Holden named shop was selling saddles for horses. So the fact that the Prime Minister has no problem saying that that's the company that's gone, but it's all good. We've got the American one and the Swedish one. But I should wrap this up here. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Send this to any Holden fans, any South Australians. Just send it around. Help my channel out, please. Thank you.